Hello loves, let's do the usual. Get the kettle on, make yourself a cup of tea, then sit down, take a deep breath in and out. So today we are going to talk about why counselling is harder than numbing out and why it's worth it. So welcome back to the podcast. I'm Becca, your host, and this is Be Yourself Unapologetically. Today I want to talk about something really raw and really real. As usual, you know me. So that moment when life feels too big for your chest and you'll do anything not to feel it. For some of us, that looks like another drink or a line or pills that did not come from a doctor or swiping through strangers for sex you do not actually want or chasing the next bet, the next win, the next hit, or maybe this time. And then there is counselling, sitting in a room or on a Zoom call with somebody who looks you in the eye and says, "Tell me the truth." Today's episode is why choosing counselling over drugs, alcohol, black market meds, gambling, porn, or any other numbing behaviour is one of the hardest choices you will ever make, but also one of the bravest and most life-changing. This is not an anti-you episode. This is a I see what you've survived episode. Before we talk about counselling, we need to talk about those default behaviours. You know the ones: the drink you deserve after a rough day that quietly turns into 4, the prescription meds you buy from someone because they promise sleep or calm or focus, the one-night stands that feel like connection until the taxi ride home, the gambling app you delete every Sunday night and download again by Wednesday, the scrolling, the binging, the whatever your thing is. Here is the first important truth. You're not broken because you do that. Your brain is trying to protect you. When you are overwhelmed, in pain, lonely, ashamed, grieving, traumatized, your brain goes hunting for anything that changes the way you feel fast. It is like a fire alarm that has decided the solution is to flood the kitchen, not just put out the pan. Substances and compulsive behaviours work in the short term, but alcohol can dampen the panic, drugs can give you a hit of pleasure or numbness, sex can feel like proof you are wanted, gambling can give you excitement in a life that feels flat. Binge watching, binge eating, binge anything you can to drown out the noise for a bit. So if you have used any of these to cope, it does make sense. You were not being weak, you were trying to survive with the tools you had. But what works in the short term often quietly destroys you in the long term. You wake up with shame, hangovers, money gone, bruises you cannot explain, messages you do not remember sending, or just this heavy fog of, I keep doing this and I don't even know who I am anymore. This is where counselling comes in, not as punishment, as a different kind of lifeline. So what counselling actually is and is not. Let's strip away the myths. Counselling is not someone judging you, or someone telling you you're dramatic or overreacting. Someone handing you a list of motivational quotes and then sending you home. Counselling is a confidential space to tell the unedited version of your story. A trained person helping you untangle what you feel, where it came from, and what might actually help. A process of learning new ways to cope that don't blow your life up. And counselling is not just for people who have hit rock bottom. You do not need to wait until you have lost everything. You are allowed to get help, take responsibility when things are just hard, confusing, or painful. But here's the part most people don't say out loud. counselling is often harder than drinking, using, hooking up, gambling or numbing out. And that is why it works. Why counselling feels harder than numbing out. Let's compare. Option A, numbing out. You feel terrible, lonely, angry, ashamed, whatever it is. Your brain says, let's not feel that, let's feel anything else. So you pour a drink, message someone you know is bad for you, open the betting app, take pills that were never prescribed for you. Within minutes, your brain gets relief. Your chemistry changes, your thoughts blur, your body gets the hit of phew. You pay later, but in that moment, it works. Option B, counselling. You feel terrible. Your brain says, let's avoid this conversation forever. Instead, you fill out a referral form or call your GP, sit in a waiting room, eventually sit in front of a counsellor who says, tell me what's happening. Counselling does not give you that instant chemical hit. Sometimes you leave the first few sessions feeling worse because you finally said out loud the things you have spent years trying not to think about. No wonder your brain prefers option A. Option A is a quick and chemical. Option B is slow and human. But option B is the only one that actually changes the story. The courage it takes to sit in the chair. Let's honour how hard it actually is. It takes courage to tell a stranger, I'm drinking more than I want to. I have bought prescription meds off the black market because I'm desperate. I use sex or porn or gambling to escape my life. I hate myself, but I don't know how to stop. That is terrifying. It feels like handing someone your heart in a carrier bag and hoping they don't drop it. So if you have ever typed out an email asking for help and then deleted it, looked up counselling services and then shut the tab, sat outside a therapy room in your car wondering if you can just drive away, you are not weak. You are standing at the doorway of the hardest and bravest work in your life. Your addictions or compulsive behaviours shout, come back, I can fix it in 10 minutes. Counselling whispers, I can't fix it in 10 minutes, but I can walk with you while you fix it properly, while you take the responsibility. That whisper will not be as loud as the craving. You will have to choose it on purpose. So let's make this more human. I'm going to tell you a fictional story, but you might recognise pieces of yourself in it. So let's say, meet Alex. Alex works, pays bills, hold it all together. On the outside, people say things like, you're so strong, and I'd never guessed anything was wrong. But what they don't see is the bottle hidden at the back of the cupboard. For Alex, it started as a glass of wine to take the edge off after work, then a rough patch hit, a breakup, money stress, old trauma bubbling up. The glass became half a bottle, then a bottle, then I'll just have a bit in the morning to steady my nerves. Alex knows it's a problem. Some nights the drinking leads to drunk texting, risky sex, waking up in strangers' beds. Some months the rent is late because of gambling losses. They were supposed to win everything back. Every now and again Alex thinks, I should go counselling. But then comes the list. It's not that bad. Other people have it worse. What if they think I'm disgusting? What if they tell me to stop and I can't? So Alex numbs instead, and the shame grows. One day, after a particularly brutal hangover and a missed shift at work, Alex does something different. Sits on the edge of the bed, opens a laptop, searches for counselling near me. Heart pounding, mouth dry, fills in the form and then hits send. That moment right there is harder than buying booze or pills. It is harder than opening the betting app. It is harder than messaging someone at 2 a.m. Because Alex isn't just changing behaviour, Alex is admitting, I can change something because I want to. but I can't do this alone. When we picture strength, we imagine grit pushing through, never asking, but real strength looks like Alex in that moment choosing to ask for help anyway. Why the easy option keeps you stuck? Let's be honest about the cost of the so-called easy options. Drugs and alcohol. Self-medicating might give you a break from anxiety, depression or trauma, but it can wreck your sleep, make your mental health worse over time, damage your body, create dependence, so now you're dealing with withdrawal and the original pain, get you into dangerous situations. Prescription meds bought off the black market. This one needs a clear warning. Taking medication that is not prescribed for you or is bought illegally can be genuinely life-threatening. You do not know what's in it, how strong it is, whether it clashes with other meds, or what it will do to your brain and body. If you think you might need medication for your mental health, you should talk to a GP or psychiatrist who can prescribe safely, monitor side effects, and look after you properly. Promiscuity as numbing. Sex is not the enemy. Consensual, wanted, joyful sex can be a beautiful part of life. But when you are using sex to numb out pain, to feel wanted for an hour because you feel worthless the rest of the time, it leaves scars. You ignore what you really want. You cross your own boundaries. You wake up feeling emptier than before. Gambling and other behavioural addictions. These give you a cocktail of hope and adrenaline. This will fix everything. This big win will wipe away the debt, the shame, the mess. Except what usually happens is more debt, more shame, more secrets. So why do we keep doing it? Because in the moment, all of these things work. They take you away from your pain. Counselling does not take you away from your pain. Counselling helps you walk through it so it stops owning you. What counselling actually gives you? Counselling asks more of you than any numbing behaviour because it also gives you more in the long run. Over time, counselling can help you understand where your patterns came from. Maybe you grew up in chaos and substances help you feel in control. Maybe you were taught your feelings were too much, so you learned to silence them with whatever you could find. Give you tools that work in the long term. Grounding techniques, ways to handle cravings, ways to cope with anxiety, ways to actually communicate with people instead of exploding or disappearing. Offer you a relationship where you are not used, judged or manipulated. A counsellor is there to help you, not to get something from you. Maybe you build a life you don't want to escape from. This is the big one. When your life gradually becomes more aligned with what you actually value, you do not need to numb out. None of this is instant. You may leave sessions feeling wrung out. You may feel like counselling is not working because you still have cravings, urges, and old habits keep reappearing. But healing doesn't look like a straight climb. It looks like I slipped back into my old pattern this week, but this time I understand why. And I didn't beat myself up. And I went back to therapy instead of giving up. This is progress, and that counts. Why can't I just fix this myself? Another reason counselling feels harder than default behaviours is pride. So many of us carry a secret rule. If I were stronger, I'd cope on my own. We treat getting help like failure, but think about it. If you broke your leg, you wouldn't say, if I were stronger, I'd just walk it off. You would get medical help because your leg is important. Your mind, your heart, your nervous system are at least as important as your bones. Needing help for emotional pain is not weakness, it's biology. Humans are not built to carry everything alone. And if some of your pain comes from trauma, abuse, neglect or heartbreak, remember this. You did not choose what hurt you, but you get to choose how or whether you heal. and counselling is one of the bravest choices you can make. What if I'm already using those default behaviours? Maybe as you listen to this, you're thinking, that's me. I drink more than I admit. I use drugs sometimes. I've taken meds that weren't mine. I use sex or gambling to cope. I'm scared. It's a problem. First, I want you to hear this very clearly. You are not a lost cause. You are not beyond help. You are not disgusting. You are someone who has been trying to cope with a nervous system that has been overwhelmed probably for a long time. Here are some gentle, practical steps you could consider. These are ideas, not orders. Talk to your GP or a trusted health professional. Be honest about what you're using and why. Their job is to help, not to judge. Especially if you're using substances regularly, it can be dangerous to stop suddenly without medical advice. Look for counselling or talking therapies. In the UK, you can usually access NHS talking therapies through your GP or self-referral, and there are also low-cost or charity options. You are allowed to ask what kind of therapy they offer and how it might help. Reach out to someone safe, a friend, a family member, a support group, a helpline. You do not have to give a perfect speech. Simply, I'm struggling and I think I need help is enough. Plan for the moments you want to numb. When you feel the urge to use, gamble, hook up or whatever your pattern is, see if you can pause. Even 60 seconds is that pause. Try. Naming out loud what you are feeling. Asking yourself, what am I actually needing right now? Reach out instead of reaching for that thing. If you are in crisis or thinking about harming yourself, get immediate help. Contact emergency services, a crisis team or a trusted helpline in your area. Your life matters more than whether you bother anyone. Giving yourself credit for the hard path. If you choose counselling or you've already in it, you might feel like you're failing because you still struggle. So I want to flip that. If you show up to therapy even when you want to hide, tell the truth about what you're using to cope, sit with feelings that make you want to run, try, fail and try again, you are doing hard mode healing. It is easier not to look at your pain. It is easier to drown it and pretend it never happened. It is easier to chase pleasure and distraction. You are choosing a path that says, I want more than a 10-minute break from myself. I want my life back. This is extraordinary. You might not feel proud of yourself yet. You might just feel tired. But somewhere in the future, there is a version of you who is so grateful you decided to sit in that counsellor's chair instead of pouring another drink, buying another pill, or opening another app. Let's bring this home. Drugs, alcohol, prescription meds off the black market, risky sex, gambling, binging. They are not random bad choices. They are desperate attempts to soothe pain. But they are like putting a plaster over a wound that needs stitches. It looks covered, but underneath it is getting worse. Counselling asks more of you. It asks you to stay present instead of checking out. It asks you to speak your truth instead of swallowing it. It asks you to feel your feelings instead of sedating them. This is why it feels harder. Because it is harder. It can heal deeper. So if you are standing at the crossroads with your usual default behaviour in one direction and the counsellor's door in the other, I want you to know this. You are allowed to choose a harder thing. You are allowed to ask for real help. You are allowed to want more from your life than surviving on autopilot. And if all you can manage today is to say to yourself, I think I might need counselling, there is already a crack of light getting in. Thank you for listening. Be gentle with yourself today. And if this episode brought things up for you, please reach out to a trusted professional. You do not have to do this alone. Take care, and I'll speak to you in the next episode.